We have a rather intense next 48 hours before things start to settle down on Friday. So we got a lot to cover in this update. Let's start off with the satellite picture. This morning, you can see there's two areas of convective complex, one that's highlighted across Missouri with a lot of lightning strikes and some heavier rainfall. We also have another storm development that's over a good part of Kentucky as well as into Tennessee. That also has some stronger thunderstorms associated with it. You can see the cooler air that is coming in on the backside, and there's going to be another disturbance that's going to feed into this warm sector later on this afternoon. Complements of this active subtropical jet stream that's actually pulling in some very warm conditions for this time of year, really elevating those dew points, but it's also feeding in that moisture into the storms. So we have a lot of elements are coming together for a rather intense day, and it even goes into tomorrow before the cool front finally starts to clear things out. So here's the overall setup for today. In fact, we've got up to 19 potential record high temperatures. That southwest wind is pulling the warmest temperatures we've seen so far this year for a good part of Texas, with widespread triple digits. Further south, you can see all the 90s starting to show up across Texas, Louisiana, back into Mississippi, as well as into areas of Alabama, even Florida. Much of Florida is going to be near or breaking records this afternoon. Orlando could be up to 95 degrees, but you can see the 90s spread well north into Georgia, back into the Carolinas, as well as into Virginia. And even further up the coast as well, even widespread 80s across Tennessee, and those 80s surge all the way up into Illinois, Indiana, as well as even in Ohio, and even pushing 80 degrees up there in Michigan, folks. We know we had some storms yesterday with those really significant tornadoes unfortunately unfolded over there into Michigan. And it's going to be another active today as well, with an even wider spread coverage of severe storms, because we've got a lot of higher dew points. I mean, again, this is another rare aspect. Even earlier on this season, yeah, we've got those warmer, dew points, that very moist, muggy air mass, widespread 70s, if not mid to upper 70s, spreading further north into Arkansas. Those 70s spread into Tennessee, back into Kentucky later on this afternoon, through Missouri, and even further north into Illinois, Indiana, as well as in Ohio. So it puts this whole area in the capability of seeing all three modes of severe storms. In fact, like I was mentioning, I felt like this area was going to get upgraded. And yes, they did, in fact, go ahead and upgrade this to a moderate risk, especially within these zones, within areas of southeastern portions of Missouri, back in southern Illinois, areas in Kentucky, as well as into Tennessee. That seems to be the favorite area today. But don't let your guard down as far north as Iowa, back into Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, even into West Virginia. We still have the slight risk extending all the way into Virginia, into the Carolinas, and then further south back into Arkansas. And there is going to be a cool front coming in as well. And that before that, that's going to be kicking off a round of storms highlighted across Oklahoma that will eventually head into northeast Texas as well later on this afternoon. And if we break down the risk, here is the strongest probability of seeing a tornado within this sector later on this afternoon. It's mainly within the yellow shaded area. That's where you have the hatched risk. That's where you have the strong possibility of seeing an EF2 type caliber tornado. And that's really where the highlighted areas where we do have that moderate risk in play across areas of central and southwest, eastern portions of Missouri, back into Illinois, back into Kentucky, as well as into Tennessee. But don't let your guard down further south into Arkansas. And you can't even rule out an isolated spin up into areas of north and northeast Texas as well. But even far out as well as into the marginal risk. Yeah, you've seen these complexes. There were tornado warnings all the way into Pittsburgh yesterday. There was those systems, that dynamic systems, all the way up into Michigan yesterday. So this can really spread out. It's just such a large dynamic system that unfortunately is reloading for today, and that will extend even into tomorrow as well. So here's where the large hail is going to be associated with it as well. So yes, under that moderate risk, but even under that enhanced risk, we do have a large area that the atmosphere is capable of, because we've got some pretty chilly air that will be coming in on the backside. And we know we have a lot of colder air aloft, and that is going to fuel these storms with large to, if not almost very large hail. So anywhere in the potential of quarter size up to ping pong size, can't even roll out some tennis ball size, even in the purple shaded area, not out of the question. We saw it yesterday, some isolated areas of softball size hail. So yes, we've got all three modes for sure under the gun later on this afternoon. And if we kind of time it out, we've got the convective complex, this morning, but I think as we heat it up into the afternoon, especially around the 4 or 5 o'clock time frame, we're going to be watching this cold front coming in from the northwest. That's going to kick off that round of showers and thunderstorms with all that heat that's going to be building in from the south. That's going to overturn the atmosphere, and that's when we're looking at for some isolated spin up tornadoes to start to occur. So you can better believe there's going to be tornado watches in place by then. It could start as early as around 2 o'clock up here into Missouri, back into Kentucky, as well as into Tennessee, as even further south into Arkansas as well. And I think it just even amplifies as we get into the evening. So here into the overnight, I'm going to be concerned about a heavy rain threat as well across a good part of Kentucky. You've got that complex this morning, you've got all the complex this afternoon, and then you got an overnight setup where these training bands tend to stay over the same areas. So it's going to be a long duration event, folks. So it's already kicking off this morning, and then it really starts to bubble up. We're likely going to be seeing our first severe storm watches and warnings and the tornado watches in place already by likely 2 o'clock this afternoon. And it really amplifies as we head through the late afternoon into the evening. And then on the backside, we've got a convective complex with just heavier rains, and there's likely going to be a lot of serious flooding highlighted across Kentucky and Tennessee. But even further north, don't let your guard down up here into Illinois, Indiana, as well as Ohio. Could even sneak into southern portions of Michigan again, is maybe not out of the question with large scale upscale growth of this dynamic system. But as we head into the lightning strikes, you can kind of see this playing out. And taking a look at where the cold front, it will be highlighted across 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon. So yes, I'm looking at some pretty intense storms likely by then, in and across Missouri, back into Kentucky, as well as into Tennessee. This seems to be the bullseye, if you will, or the most intense activity. But even further north with the upscale growth back into the Ohio Valley, even shifting off into the Carolinas, will be under the gun as well, with that larger hail and some higher wind gust and some isolated spin up tornadoes. And even as we head into the evening time frame, there's that convective complex that I'm definitely concerned over there into Tennessee as well as into Kentucky, not only for widespread all three modes of severe storms, but the heavier rainfall aspect of it as well. So it's going to be a bumpy ride, to say the least, for the next 24 to 48 hours. And here's as we head into tomorrow morning, this is Thursday morning around 6 o'clock. I still feel the convective complex will be highlighted over across Illinois, Indiana, back in Ohio by then, back into West Virginia, through the Carolinas. And then we'll start to be concerned about further south as that cool front will be shifting further south, blowing up new activity across Louisiana into Mississippi, as well as Alabama, getting into Georgia during the morning hours. But this is where the flood warnings are going to be taking shape. So you've got this huge area of a marginal to slight to almost even to a moderate risk where the heaviest rain falls. So if you're in the green shaded area, you're likely going to be seeing possibly 1, maybe even up to 2 inches of rainfall. But if you're in the yellow shaded area, you're more likely in the 2 to possibly even 4-inch range. But if you're highlighted across this red shaded area within Kentucky and Tennessee, You're already getting the complexes this morning. You're going to get all the activity throughout the day and into the overnight hours. So for the next 24 hours in that red shaded area, there's going to be some areas that could pick up anywhere from 6 to as much as in isolated areas, maybe in up to 10 inches of rainfall, folks. So yes, a pretty intense system is definitely on the table as we spread through the next 48 hours. And if we break it down for you as for the cold front is, as we head into tomorrow on Thursday, it's going to take its sweet time. You can see where it's possibly going to be even during Thursday afternoon. It's going to be draped across this region. So that puts everything further south, still in the warm sector, still in those higher dew points as well, waiting for that cooler air to come in. And then we're going to have another increased hail threat, as we head into Thursday afternoon. So right now we did in fact upgrade this to an enhanced risk. This is likely south of the I-20 corridor within the Dallas region, heading into central Texas. That where they could be seeing the large to very large hail producing thunderstorms, and then we'll have the elongation right on that cool front. We'll have some stronger thunderstorms highlighted into Louisiana, back into Mississippi, as well as into Alabama, even further south into the Florida Panhandle, getting into Georgia, up into the Carolinas, and even Delaware and those areas into DC, likely not out of the question to see some stronger storms. But the main concern is going to be hail with this aspect, this setup on Thursday. With the main area highlighted across Texas, and it's really going to be south of the I-20 corridor, mainly south of the DFW, likely heading into central Texas and those areas across Waco, back into the Austin region, back into southeast Texas. Those areas could be seeing the largest potential of the largest hail. So, and it's going to tap into a very high Cape value. So we know we have a lot of heat with that ridge starting to build up there in Mexico. So that's going to maximize those temperatures. And that's why we do have some record heat and some records unfolding, not only today, but will be tomorrow as well, ahead of the cold front. But a lot of instability to tap into. Very rare to see also 4 or 5, even up to just a 6,000 Cape value. So that's a lot of instability this atmosphere is going to go up against. That's why we have that increased concern for definitely some larger hail. And I think it gets going into the heat of the afternoon. So this is where around 4 or 5 o'clock, heading into tomorrow, we're going to be looking at a convective complex that blows up across Texas. And then right along that cool front, ahead of it, the atmosphere will be overturning it again into the southeast and up into the east coast and going up into the portions of the northeast as well as we head into tomorrow. But here's the concern. We got two approaches here. This is today. So this is your helicity index. This is where you have the greatest potential of updrafts. This is where the atmosphere will be rotating. So it insinuates either it's a hail situation or a tornadic situation, but it's mainly highlighted across central and south, eastern portions of Missouri, back into areas of Kentucky. Pretty much all of Tennessee is under the gun. And then the northern areas of Mississippi, Alabama, heading into Georgia. And then we have that tomorrow system into Thursday with the cool front, with some larger hail associated within areas of south of the Metroplex, northeast Texas, and likely heading into Louisiana, Mississippi, back into Alabama, even getting into Georgia with the highest potential of some larger hail and possibly a quick spin up tornado, within that region. But overall, if we break down the next 48 hours, here's where these convective complexes come in. So you've got this area, the low pressure center highlighted across this region, even some areas still getting some snow, especially in the higher elevations, but it's mainly going to be along this corridor back into Iowa, Missouri, as well as into Arkansas, getting into portions of Texas through Louisiana, back into Mississippi and Alabama. Pretty intense stuff. You move further north, and right where that moderate risk, and right where we do have that moderate risk for excessive rainfall, that's not a misprint, up to possibly 10 inches in some isolated areas. So there is going to be some 6 and 10 inch totals. I think so. And even further north, we could get some heavier rains and convective complexes, even as far north as the southern portions of Michigan, getting into Illinois, Indiana, as well as Ohio, and back through Pennsylvania again, and then lighter amounts with less severe aspect to it up here into the Northeast. And we'll have some severe storms along the East Coast as well. But finally, we make it to Friday. We get it to Friday, and I think things calm down a little bit. The cool front will be safely clear a good part of the United States. We're only going to be looking at some marginally induced storms, mainly highlighted across far extreme portions of the Southeast and much of the Florida Panhandle as well. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me next update while I protect you before and after the storm.